Joel Osteen, that guy's going to be a general.
No.
I'm calling it right now.
No. General's the wrong word.
Everything that people talk about that they want now is something that he was already back in 1844 running on as a platform.
This is why the church is going to take over after the ashes of the apocalypse. Richard Stafford, go.
Okay, so Joseph was actually poised to be a very competitive candidate in this race. If you look at the numbers, he was tracking really well. He was
The
being
race
really
of
well
what? It was
received.
race of
1844.
1844 presidential race.
Where you have James K. Polk ends up being the Democrat nominee, not because he's a great candidate, but because they couldn't handle the positions of the guy who they actually should have put in place.
Correct.
Okay, cool.
Had the Whigs not assassinated Joseph Smith, then we wouldn't have had Polk. We would have actually had Joseph.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so is that just where it ends right here?
No.
Oh, he's going to back it up. Okay. So hit it. Tell me.
So we've got the presidential platform for Joseph Smith, and he's running on this very well-founded, very principled segregationist platform of selling off federal lands, repatriating our brothers and sisters that are enslaved, and giving remanding to them the remaining lands from the federal government, because the federal government doesn't need them. That's not part of its role.
Wow. So he was like the original reparations guru then.
Yeah.
Huh?
Everything that people talk about that they want now is something that he was already back in 1844 running on as a platform to go.
Had a perfect plan for it.
Yeah. It was beautifully illustrated. He also was in favor of reducing the pay of Congress, because honestly, they were getting overpaid for what they were doing, right? They should be paid the same as the farmer that they're representing out in the fields. And so he had this approach, and his opponents organized, in my opinion, and in a lot of historical evidence to back it up, organized an assassination effort and successfully assassinated Joseph Smith, making him the first presidential candidate to be assassinated on the campaign trail in United States history.
Okay, so you don't think it was the mob that did it just because they were angry at kind of the localized power that Mormons were getting, and it wasn't just the Warsaw mob that came up and settled the local score. You think that kind of just like the CIA sends in their special operators to, get the local mobs and militias angry, and, they kind of push an agenda from behind the scenes. You think the Whig Party actually pushed an agenda behind the scenes to get Joseph Smith killed because of political reasons against the Whigs?
Right, because they felt that getting him out of the way would have given them a better shot, which foolishly getting rid of him gave them a worse shot because they didn't have a good position to begin with. And so we ended up with...
He would have split the vote.
Yep.
Because of the way that his platform was set up, he would have split the vote away from James K. Polk.
Correct.
So you think the Whigs shot Joseph Smith because he would have split the vote away from James K. Polk? What evidence?
James K. Polk was a Democrat.
Sorry, yeah.
So they were trying to get rid of Joseph Smith to get rid of competition for Whig votes.
Correct.
But they ultimately were kind of selling themselves short.
Yeah. What evidence do we have of this?
So there's been numerous books written. I can't think of the one right now. I was just reading it the other day, but it's about the trial of the Joseph Smith, the trial of the Joseph Smith assassination trial. I can't remember. It was, I believe it was, I want to say there was some involvement with a member of the 70 who actually did the research on it.
Oh, wait, are you talking about the book that Dallin H. Oakes wrote about the trial of Joseph Smith at Carthage?
The Carthage conspiracy?
There was that one, but there was another one. And
that's more explicitly anti-Whig.
It gets into it a lot.
This is
deeper.
when we need Brian Stutzman to show up, because there's so many books written. We don't know which area authority we're talking about. But anyway, keep going.
I'm not a smart man, right? I'm a U.S. service member, right? So
you're libertarian.
Yeah,
too.
that too.
So no, I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. Just keep going.
I've got principles, not IQ points. So what we have here is a situation where they undercut themselves for this vote, for this election, and they essentially laid the groundwork for their own demise. by having him be assassinated, because you mentioned that it's almost like the CIA clandestinely conducting these operations. They didn't have to be clandestine about anything. There was already active sentiment that was anti-Mormon at the time.
Yeah, for like 3 seconds there, I felt like Kwaku. You know, when I was like, see, it's the CIA.
It is.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Always right answer.
see, oh, you're talking about the Whigs? You mean the, oh, you're talking about the Bob? You mean the Whigs? Wait,
Right.
so the Whigs were the original CIA then?
You could say that for this instance, right?
Okay, cool.
So
right.
basically, you know how Hillary Clinton said Jill Stein is the reason that she didn't beat Trump, right?
Which is garbage.
This
you
is
know.
like if Hillary Clinton had, if Donald Trump had killed Jill Stein, thinking that she would stop him from winning, and then it ended up making it so that his
Okay,
opponent
so
got elected.
now before we engage in that claim though, like for example, I remember the original vote splitter, Bob Dole. I kind of dated myself here a little bit. But there was a lot of people that said, oh, Bob Dole cost the election of Bush the second time around, or whatever, you know. And that mathematically has not proven out. Is there, like, what evidence do you have that Joseph Smith would have won had he not been assassinated?
Well, seeing as we don't have a ton of great polling data from that time because it just didn't exist.
Yeah, we don't have really great polling data now, apparently.
Right. But what we do have are letters
Arizona,
of people.
Maricopa County.
Anyway, keep going.
No, you're good. We have a lot of letters from people that lived in the areas that he was campaigning in, and they were writing letters to each other about this support, talking about
So
this guy
strongly
coming
worded
through.
letters and anecdotal evidence makes us
Yes,
think John.
absolutely.
Okay, cool. Keep going.
Absolutely. Because, anecdotal evidence is just anecdotal in a vacuum, but we see that there was actual support. There were people showing up to his rallies. It's not just a couple of letters here and there, that people were actually coming out in support of these efforts because it resonated with them on what they believe to be true American principles on equality amongst all men.
So I get that we might have journal entries of Joseph Smith and a couple of his rallies that could be very compelling. Things were very different back then, though. Like, I think we were still at a period where only landowners could vote, correct? You had to own land. Women's suffrage hadn't passed yet because the Republican Party, I think, had only been formed within 2 or 3 years, right? So we hadn't gotten women's suffrage yet. And then, forget emancipation. That was still a decade away, right? So you didn't need as many votes. That was a thing. Like, you look at some of these voting blocks, and it's like, 5,000 people voted in this part of Iowa, and the whole thing swung. And now it's like 5,000. That's one voting box outside of a junior college on a Wednesday. So do we have anything else besides just written letters? Like, there was no exit polling in the day, obviously, and there was no. Like, do you have anything else we can?
I have something.
Okay, what?
Feelings.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like he would have won. I just really wish.
What does your heart tell you?
I wish that he would have.
The spirit
we would have
whispered to
hover
me.
cars. Nikola Tesla would have given us all free energy. It would be great if Joseph Smith had won for president.
Okay,
it would have presented a very interesting problem for members of the church, though, if he had won the presidency, because we've got to have. We then would have a prophet in as president, and having as a founding document that we would have no national religion, but that we would have national religious principles.
So what? I mean, we had John F. Kennedy. We had the first Catholic president. Like, we didn't have the Pope ruling on whether or not our water rights were correct.
Yeah, but what if the Pope was president? Is what he's saying.
Yeah.
That's right. What if the Pope was
president? And that was
president?
the original design of the Catholic Church, was to have some entity that was enforcing things from a social level to enforce government law on people just on their own, right?
So
we don't speak ill of the emperor because that's blasphemous.
So how would you have justified, like, what are the problems? And also being a huge libertarian / personal agency and liberty-minded person, how would you have overcome those? What would the problems have been, and how would you have overcome them?
So we've got the problem of having our church leader and our government secular leader being one and the same person. And we already have a hard enough time trying to differentiate our leaders in the church from their jobs or their positions.
We did that with Brigham Young, though. Brigham Young was the governor of Deseret before Utah was a territory. Then he was the governor of Utah.
And then he got removed as governor by the U.S. president and replaced.
Okay, yeah, fine, but like he didn't burn the thing down while he was there, and Utah did pretty good.
He just threatened to.
He just
There was the Utah War,
Yeah.
just a small thing.
well, come on.
It was interrupted by a bigger, more important war. So.
Yeah, back then, like, territories went to war all the time. You weren't a territory if you didn't go to war with the U.S., lose a little bit,
Sure.
and then they ended up buying you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, okay. There's actually an entire play that's designed off that premise. Come on, you're a theater guy. What's the play? I watched it in 6th grade. It was the theater group, not 6th grade, 7th grade. The theater group in my junior high put on a play in which the premise of the play was that a third world country was poor enough and in hard economic times, and they noticed a trend that if you go to war with the U.S., they end up throwing tons of money at you afterwards. So they tried to start a war with the U.S. as like an economic program. What is it called? The mouse that roared. Okay, I'm gonna look this up. Oh, see, I'm pulling that one out of the vault.
I was
man.
gonna say burlesque.
Burlesque. Oh, I didn't see that
A
one.
very similar message in
Yes,
burlesque.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, keep going. I interrupted you. Keep going.
No, so the idea then you run into with having them occupying the same positions, we resolve it by saying, look, they can occupy both. In fact, we had Ezra Taft Benson was serving in the cabinet as Secretary of Agriculture under Eisenhower, but he was also an apostle. He actually had to get permission from David O. McKay to serve in that position and go, hey, is it okay if I am both apostle and a member of the presidential cabinet? So we already have that playing itself out in church governance and the administration of the church.
So you don't see that as being a conflict of interests because, like, for example, right now everybody's doggone on Katie Hobbs. Like, I've been listening to Kwaku all morning long talking about Katie Hobbs this, Katie Hobbs that. How could she oversee her own election?
Brian Kemp too.
Yeah, no. Well, I'm the one that told you there was also a Republican that did it last cycle.
No, I
Kemp.
knew that. That's
Okay.
That was news to me.
That was news to you. Oh, you were the one.
The
that was news to
ignorant
me.
Canadian that I am.
Yes, I would never ever.
I know everything.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, just simply saying, "Oh, well, we can do both." Really? You think that was the answer, or is that just the one that they happened to come up with?
That's the solution that they came up with, and it worked. In fact, Ezra Taft Benson served faithfully in his calling and in his position in the state, and then went on to become prophet. I'd say it was fairly successfully executed. Otherwise, he would have probably been struck down had he been poor at that position, leading the people astray. Right.
All right. So here we got Peter Sellers. I'm just bringing my old cinema street cred to the forefront here. Yeah, there it is. The Mouse That Roared, and according to Wikipedia, The Mouse That Roared is based off of a Ban the Bomb theme. All right. So apparently it was some kind of geopolitical peace play. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, it tells the story of the minuscule European Duchy of Grand Fenwick. And it's bankrupted when an American company comes up with a cheaper imitation of Fenwick's sole export, its fabled Pinot Grand Fenwick wine. And the crafty prime minister, played by Peter Sellers, devises a plan that he will declare war on the United States, then surrender, taking advantage of American largesse towards its defeated enemies to rebuild the defeated enemies or nation's economy.
Was this considered funny back then?
Yeah, it was actually quite hilarious. Dude, you the always dogs on.
Don't you have Grant Fenwick? Peanut wine. Funny comedy.
No, but it was funny.
It was a British comedy.
Oh gosh,
That's why you're
I
having
hate
such
British
a reaction.
comedy.
No, it actually was really funny because
The Office sucked before we took it over.
and Batman sucked
That's
until the
not true.
English took it over. So, you know what I'm
Wait,
saying?
Robert Pattinson's he is English.
And so is Christian Bale.
Christian Bale and also Christopher Nolan. Like
And
post
also Ben Affleck.
He's very American.
Prove it.
He's from Boston.
Show me his
Actually,
birth
Ricky
certificate.
Gervais's office.
Yeah.
Okay, Berther.
I want to correct. Ricky Gervais's office was very funny.
You know, yes. So there's communication and a dialogue artistically between us and the old world. But this was actually a really funny play. Let me tell you, if 7th graders can pull off the humor and make us laugh, it was good. And you would have actually loved it, Kwaku, because it lampooned the U.S. government like left and right for how they'll go to war with you and then just pay you for having gone to war with them. You know, it was actually quite hilarious. So anyway, You really think in your heart of hearts Joseph Smith would have won the presidency?
I think he had a really good shot. And I think that the Whigs did themselves a disservice by killing him, because had they let him run and potentially lose, it would have set them up better for the next presidential election instead of having to get Polk in and then have nothing to offer after that.
But one thing that you see, Cardin, when you look into the people talking about Joseph Smith around the time that they killed him, was the mobbers were saying things like, he's running for the presidency, and if he doesn't win this time, he will next. Mm-hmm. That was one of their warnings they used to convince people that it was worth killing Joseph Smith.
That's true. And we read all of those firsthand sources that were put out by Brian Stutzman.
Yeah.
By the mob in Illinois, very well documenting how they said, no, we're usually good people, but in this case.
Exactly. And
okay.
Whether they believed that or not is maybe in question. But they used it as part of the excuse to say we should kill Joseph Smith. And so, you started seeing him gaining popularity that at least if they didn't think he was going to win the 1844 election, they worried he might win the 1848.
Wow.
Right?
Okay, cool. So what's the takeaway from all of this, man? Do we need to run more Mormons for president? What do we got to do here?
Well, last time we did that, it didn't fare too well for us as president either. Both times we've run somebody for president, it hasn't worked out for us.
Wait, both times? There was Mitt Romney. Who was the other one?
And
John Huntsman.
Joseph Smith.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, duh.
Oh,
well, the original.
John Huntsman.
Does he count, though? I'm totally kidding.
Yeah. Third richest guy in Utah? Yeah, it counts.
Who were the first two?
There's that. It's like the tech guy, and then who's that? The dude who lived in Springville.
Oh yeah, that guy.
I don't know.
He's got the biggest mansion in the whole state. It's crazy.
Oh, super
it's
cool.
It's a nice mansion.
And let me guess, that's where you're throwing some of your parties, right?
He did.
Oh my God. Okay, cool. Well, hey, if we got any history buffs out there, I would be super interested to see some of the original sources that showed the fervor behind Joseph Smith's candidacy. I got to admit that growing up, being used to seeing a million third-party candidates whenever, elections come around, I just figured that, Joseph Smith was a good dude who was trying to do his civic duty. It's foreign to me, the idea that, he might have won, because I guess I've just adopted the language of my oppressors, my uniparty oppressors, thinking that unless you're just a traditional Democrat or Republican, you have no hope.
That's right.
And nowadays, the Democrats will just cheat. But
oh my God.
Just kidding. Actually, I'm not even that big of a stop the steal guy. But I think there's cheating involved, though.
But here's the thing with Joseph Smith.
Yeah.
They organized the Council of 50 and sent out missionaries to campaign for him.
Mm-hmm. Really?
Yes. Yeah. And there were missionaries out campaigning for Joseph Smith for president. And so there may have been a lot of other third-party candidates, but none were so organized. Exactly. Organized with volunteer labor.
Oh, P.S. By the way, this is why the church is going to take over after the ashes of the apocalypse. Because nobody else is organized.
Mm-hmm.
I did PR in Argentina. Wait, whoa. What's Kwaku?
He's going to drop in
There's
Sea
one
Org.
organization that is very organized, and it is the Scientologist.
Oh, stop it. They can't hold a candle to the level of... What?
They have a Navy, dog.
Of 1943. Okay, Russell M. Nelson's yacht is as good as that old Korean War destroyer that's been gutted.
They have a lot.
What,
also,
really?
Jehovah's Witnesses. I think they're actually going to kick a lot of butt.
You think the J-Dubs are going to kick a lot of butt?
I think they are secretly waiting for the fight, and we're going to be like, whoa, these guys have hands. Oh, my gosh. All that door knocking.
Okay, hold on a second. Well, let's see here.
Presbyterian's not going to do anything. They're done for, but
Sea Org Navy Pictures.
Just Sea Org ships.
Just Sea Org ships. Okay, cool.
Do they have the Dazzle camo?
Sea Org ships. Look, I got to tell you right now.
Have you seen
I don't think they have more than 2 or 3.
It's just weird.
2 or 3 destroyers they bought from third world countries that are having a surplus sale or what? Let's see here. Sea Org ships. Here's the pick.
Am I not looking at a cruise line ad?
Yeah, is this...
Well, you really think they're going to show the weapons that they have? You really think they're going to show their,
We got one picture. There's not even any guns on this thing, man.
And why would they make that available for use, for people to see?
To flex, to show off. It's propaganda, bro.
No, because when's the last time a New Age esoteric religion had a base with weapons? It was Elizabeth Clare Prophet in Montana with the Church Universal and Triumphant. It caused a thing. All I'm saying is these guys are ready, dude. I'm going to the people that are ready. You know who ain't ready?
What?
The Thrive Conference. John DeLynn is gonna. What's he gonna do?
Gosh.
What are the Presbyterians gonna do? Hillsong actually is probably gonna have some of those big Joel Osteen. That guy's gonna be a general.
No.
I'm calling it right.
No,
That guy's-
General's the wrong word. Warlord is the right word for what Joel Osteen will
He's gonna do it with a smile. I'm just so excited that everybody here can
we're
taste
gonna
blood
go.
and flesh for the first time, and we take over Houston, Texas, and kill those dirty. Oh my God!
Could you imagine Joel Osteen
Yes.
doing a military tribunal?
Yes.
He'd be like, I heard a rumor that you were not faithful to your covenants with our battalion. So we're going to line you up, 5 men, 4 bullets. We're going to shoot you. You know what I'm saying? Like, he would just like,
Someone put in my heart that you're a traitor, and we're gonna fix this with a little piece of lead administered 500 miles per hour right between your eyes.
Oh my gosh.
what a dystopian thriller. We've gone from saying Joseph Smith, the prophet of the Restoration, would have become president of this great North American nation to philosophizing on what Joel Osteen as a warlord in the apocalypse
And
would
we don't
sound
even have
like.
to philosophize as to what Greg Locke would do because he's told us. You know what I'm saying? That's why he's our favorite pastor on the show. Do you know who Greg Locke is?
Yeah.
Hilarious. The
Amazing.
funniest guy ever.
Yeah. Okay. So let us know what you guys think in the comments below. Would Joseph Smith have won? Do you think he would have won? What kind of primary sources do you have to back that up?
Because he was at least better than freaking James K. Polk.
Yeah. And with a name like that, it's not hard.
Yeah.
So,
Although he did have a good mullet.
James K. Polk had a mullet?
He did have a good
Yes.
mullet.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bullets are back in.
Business up front, party in the back.
Okay, cool. All right. Let us know what you guys think. This is Midnight Mormons. See you guys in the next program. Hey guys, Cardinellis here. Thanks for watching the video. Now, before we go on to the next video, we gotta talk. We've got a ton of subscribers for which we are very grateful, but unfortunately, I'm going over the analytics and less than 15% of you guys have clicked on the bell icon next to the subscribe button. Now, besides being subscribed to this channel, you need to click that bell icon so you get alerted to every video we drop. We're making about 3 videos a week, dropping them once every other day, and you're not going to see all of them unless you've clicked on that bell icon. So please make sure you like and you share and you subscribe and you also click on the bell icon. See you guys in the next program.